Welcome to podcast 4. Let's do this.
Let's do this. I have no idea what Rose has planned for this video yet again, and I'm dying to know.
All right, now we're going to go into the portion of who's the most. Who's more likely to, who's the most.
Who's the most? Who's the most likely to?
Ready? Exactly.
Okay.
Who's the most funny? Did he point at me?
Mm-hmm.
It is funny. I never found myself funny, but you bring out my funny.
Mm,
I also think you find me funny. Although I also laugh at everything Jonathan says.
you do?
Jonathan's very funny.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Every time you make a joke, I laugh at it.
yeah. Are you genuinely laughing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I sensed you are, but
I tend to just be more blunt, I think, which makes me funny sometimes.
yeah.
Or I just say things. Sometimes I try to be funny, I think. Not in a weird way, but I just say things that are a little...
I definitely enjoy your wit. It's very
That's
sharp
a good way to put it.
and sophisticated, but also silly. It's a perfect mix.
All right, ready for the next one?
Yeah.
First few will warm us up. Who's the more romantic one?
That was not difficult.
People might find that interesting that we find me the funnier one and you the more romantic one. Your romantic is elaborate, I would say. You're very creative, and that creativity comes out very beautifully in your expression toward me. I'm also a very, sometimes, oblivious person.
Is this the humor coming out again, or?
No, it's for real. I
Yeah,
think
I know.
sometimes you are very romantic in very sweet ways. A long time ago, Jonathan sent me songs, and even though they weren't particularly for me, it was like showing how much you cared because you were sharing a part of yourself for me. Some of them were for me. Like, that's romantic. It's time consuming and thought out and these types of things. And then also some of the things that you did for our Thanksgiving and things like that were just like way outside the box as far as like the waxing. Or that sounded... There was no waxing happening. There were wax seals on envelopes and things like that. Okay, next one. Who's the most patient?
I don't even have to look.
I can be. There were times in my life when I was. And then for whatever reason recently, I just feel like it's just not the time to be patient. So, not with
There's
everything.
a song
though.
called Patience.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that.
Okay, next one. Who's the better cook?
Me?
You're the better cook, baby.
Why am I the better cook?
I think you're the better cook because you're just able to know what needs to be added, even time-wise. You just know without looking. I mean, I think sometimes you like glance at the recipe and you're like, okay, this is this is that, this is this. You know what flavors are, and then you just add it and make it good every time. With or without a recipe.
Well, thank you. Well, cooking is a new thing for me. Like, this is something I've taken on in the last year. I was always interested in it, but I never really had the motivation to do it. And I think I lucked out in that when it comes to other skills I have, I think they've been transferable into cooking. And unsurprisingly, when it comes to music, and especially mixing music, concepts like contrast and getting things to blend and sound like they're in harmony, it's very similar concepts when it comes to foods and blending recipes and creating the right contrast and harmony in food. So I think those concepts were very familiar. So it was just applying those concepts to a new medium. So I think that's allowed me to sort of dive into cooking and enjoy it and make some decent meals for us.
Better than decent, baby. I think at this point, we can fairly say that we'd rather eat at home than eat out.
Yeah, we've had that experience quite a few times where like the bar has been raised for like what's a good meal out now.
We made vegan cheese and added it to
Non-vegan
steaks.
steaks.
To make cheesesteaks because it's sort of a comfort thing for me every once in a while. And that was my idea, I think. I went and got everything randomly. You were up here editing, I think.
Yeah.
And I came up here and I was like, I want to try this. And it came out so amazing.
It was delicious, yeah.
And you have the cast iron skillet that you know how to use. So it just was like the best. And then we tried cheesesteaks another time and they were trash.
Yeah, like normal cheesesteak. It just didn't live up at all.
It didn't live up at all.
Yeah.
So I bought more cashews today so we can make more of that. I'll also say that there are some things that I feel like I do make well, like some of the soups and stuff like that. I just tend to be A, more of a recipe follower, and B, like using the crock pot and things like that. Just because living by myself, especially during the pandemic, like you need to eat and there's no cafeteria to just go get food, and you just try to do it as quickly as possible to get the nutrients in. That's how I always looked at it. You're more for the taste and flavor of it, where I'm just like, I need some spinach.
Yes,
and I just
get that.
eat handfuls of spinach.
I totally get that. So question for you.
Okay.
I would ask you what your favorite meal is that I've cooked, but I'm going to ask it differently. If we were to have guests over, which meal
Those
would
like
you want me to cook for them?
Well, I don't want to share the goodness. So I would say if guests were coming over, I would say let's do something that's a little bit less intense as far as each individual thing. But I mean, for New Year's Eve, you made steaks. They were by far the best steaks I've ever eaten in my life.
Wow.
They were so perfectly done.
They were pretty good.
And then I would say the mashed potatoes we had tonight, which was random. And that technique was one I suggested just out of pure necessity, right?
We invented a new way to prepare mashed potatoes. We call them
Mashish.
we haven't found a thing to call them yet, but they
No, you
tasted
said
like
it earlier.
we basically fried leftover mashed potatoes, and they tasted like hash browns, but they had the
It was
consistency
so
of mashed
good.
potatoes. They were amazing.
It was so
Comment
good.
below with a name for that.
It's probably like what they do when it's like twice baked.
Yeah.
You know? Funny story, in college, my roommates and I would cook for each other on Sundays. And then this particular time we decided to make where you take the potato and scoop it out, like with the, you know what I mean? I can't remember what that's called.
Take the potato and scoop it out.
Like you cut the potato in half, you scoop the inside out, and you bake it. Potato skins.
Potato
You
skins.
fry them. You fry them. You don't bake them. You fry them. This time the oil was like too old and it set on fire.
Oh,
It was the one time in college there was a real fire and we all had to evacuate or whatever you call it.
wow.
You know how the thing would constantly go off?
Yeah,
Did you have
false
that in
alarms,
college?
yeah.
Constantly. Because people doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
This was real. There was a fire in that kitchen.
Damn.
An oil fire of all things that I created. Everybody's safe. Everybody lived.
Everyone's okay.
Later, I was in a building that was on fire and didn't know if I was going to make it, but I'm here today to
my
talk about
goodness.
it. I'll also say I am a savory girl. You have more of a sweet tooth. I'm a savory person. So I just feel very lucky because you can cook so well. You didn't really even know it. And we are in a period of our lives where, because of school and whatever else, you tend to be the person that cooks more. I still do cook meals, but I cook the more simple stuff. Like sometimes I'll stack pancakes to the ceiling.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll just make eggs, things like that are just more staples that aren't requiring too much like creativity or intellectual. Or I'll make soup and stuff. I'll just make certain things that I kind of know off the top of my head. Although that one time I made the fun Indian food and the
Yeah,
naan
that's
from scratch.
Delicious.
I like to make things from scratch and I like to try new things versus making the same thing all the time. But that requires like headspace that I don't have at this
Totally.
period in my life. Once in a while I try.
Once in a while
throw
you
some-
succeed.
Throw something in the crock pot. You ready
What
for
else
the
we
next
got?
one?
Let's do it. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Who is grumpier in the morning?
It depends on the morning.
I was going to say, this was funny for me because
It's a tie.
it's a tie. I don't think either of us are very grumpy
I agree.
though. We're not the type of people to like wake up on the wrong side of the bed very often. If we have, we tell each other immediately why. There's no guessing with this. I tend to also wake up and be ready to go. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, it's pretty uncanny, actually.
I'm like just ready.
It's like getting ready in your sleep before you wake up. or something.
I'm just, there's no like grogginess usually. It's just like alarms off. I'm already clothed downstairs, half my coffee's drank.
Yeah, I need to study this because I get right up out of bed, like alarm is up, but there's no snoozing. So it's not like I'm dragging my feet. There's just a lot of stuff I do in the morning. I make lemon waters, I make smoothies, I have to eat the smoothie. I typically work out in the morning.
The unlock is my intermission.
It's your fasting, yeah. You cut like a whole bunch of stuff out.
Well, that, and I just am immediately awake. like when we interact in the morning, most of the time you're not grumpy, but you're like slow.
Yeah, I'm not.
You're like still waking up, and I'm just like, what are we gonna do today? Who's this? Who's that? When are we gonna get a puppy? I'm like ready to go.
Accurate. Yeah.
Maybe it's all the years of like working early in the morning and like having to just turn it on.
Yeah, I mean, I was a night owl most of my life, so I think I've conditioned my brain to be like not peak performing at 6 a.m. But I like getting up early. I've sort of gravitated more toward that as I've gotten older.
I love getting up early and having plenty of time to do anything I want so that I can just do it and enjoy it and not think about it all day and wish that's what I was doing.
I'm going to try that out. We've talked about it. See if
Oh,
I can
yeah,
produce
that's
some
right.
of my guitar music in the mornings. 4:30 rise. See how long it lasts.
Let's do it. This one's kind of obvious, I think, but who's more stubborn? I don't think we need to say
No, you
more
can
about
comment
that.
on it. I'm not going to comment on it.
I don't really have anything to comment on. I just know what I want. It's not even stubborn. Is that stubborn? It's just like knowing myself. If somebody proves me wrong, I'm willing to bend.
Operative word is if.
Well, it's like step up to the plate. I told one of my employees that today. I'm like, I'm willing to listen if I'm wrong, but you better be right that I'm wrong.
Next question.
Okay, this one I thought would be interesting. Who do we think is the messier one?
Well, I don't think either of us are messy. So,
We're not messy.
yeah, so it's kind of a
It's a wash.
false dichotomy.
We're literally not messy.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
I love that.
Who tends to be happier?
Interesting that we're not pointing fingers anymore. These are more challenging. I have some reflections on this one. I think we're pretty even on that, but I think there's a difference. I think you're more outward with your happiness, and I'm more inward with mine. I sense that we're pretty on par with our happiness.
I agree with that. I also think that we tend to be happy together, but our outside happiness tends to ebb and flow at different times. So like if something is happening in your career or your channel or something like that that's making you happy, it tends to be a more stressful time in my life, which I actually think is a good thing. Because if both of us were stressed out at the same time, it would be terrible.
Yes.
Like, I think our relationship, we're happy at the same time, but then these outside influences can kind of ebb and flow, which is good. It makes it easier to support one another in a different way.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, next one. Who picks up on new skills faster?
I think that's also pretty even.
I had reflections on this because I feel like this is something I can't remember if we talked about on the podcast or in real life. In case anybody's wondering, we have these conversations all the time. They're just not always recorded.
True.
There was, I think we talked about it when we were talking about the practice. And there was a time in my life where I truly did not understand that people practice to get good at something. I thought that if it didn't come to you naturally the first time, then it's just not going to come. And then I didn't work on things that probably I could have gotten really good at. I think there was a point in my life where I picked up on things extremely fast out of necessity and less happening. And now it's like my brain prioritizes what it decides to pick up on. So this was a hard one for me to think about. I don't think either of us sort of picks up on something faster. I think it's just different topics, different priorities, different times.
No, I agree.
Okay, I also think I skipped a bunch of these by mistake, but that's okay. Who has more phobias?
You know one of mine. I don't think I have very many phobias.
You have a single phobia that's not a phobia.
Yeah, it's like a
You have
legitimate
like
concern.
I don't necessarily think I have phobias as much as I tend to be a little bit more icked out by something. Like, you're just always calm and steady, and I'm like, ah. But then I'm like, oh, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, I would say.
Okay. Who is typically more eager to experience something new?
You?
I think me.
Yeah.
I think that you you go so deep into something in a good way, and I tend to be more like, okay, I got to like as good as I think I'm going to get with that, so I'm going to switch to something different now.
Yeah, I could see that. The word eager is the one that was throwing me off. When I really want to try something new, I'm eager to do it.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean, yeah.
The intensity of my eagerness depends on what it is, but like the amount of things I try that are new, I do go narrower and deeper into my areas of interest, I would say, versus trying out a million different things.
Yeah, I like to try new things. I like to explore different concepts. But you, I would say, like when I think about guitar, you try new things within the same genre, let's say.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you probably
definitely.
discovered things on the guitar that nobody else has ever discovered.
That would be cool.
Right? Don't you think?
Yeah, maybe. I would like to think I've come up with some original licks and things for sure.
But even like the methods you use.
Yeah, it's hard to know because there's so many people playing and discovering things in parallel without being aware that the other person's doing it. You know, like finger tapping is a technique that Eddie Van Halen popularized. And a lot of
Didn't I
people-
get good at that? What did I get good at? Pulling off.
Yeah, pull-offs. Yeah, you got good at that. That's half of a finger tapping. Yeah. That's this part of it you got good at, and then you got to incorporate the other one.
Oh, geez.
Oh, geez. I think when it comes to my career, I've worked in 3 different functional domains. And even within my current focus area, the amount of breadth in that job is incredible. So I feel like that part of my brain that can handle trying or juggling many different things, it gets like maxed out in my career. It also challenges me, and it's enjoyable too. I really value and appreciate that part of my job because it's strategic and challenging, and you always are doing something different and learning something new. So I think my downtime and my hobby interest tends to be much more selective and narrowly focused, and just getting deep focus in a way that's going to give me the most joy.
I love that. Yeah. Having deep focus is so important for me. I'm learning that more and more. Who is more likely to make someone cry on accident? I think I am.
Yeah.
I was thinking like being sentimental. I do think people have a more emotional response to me. They tend to either really like me or really not like me. And for the people that start out really not liking me, they'll eventually cry because they like me so much. And in the reverse, the people that think that they really like me, and then I'm like direct or something like that, then maybe they are taken off guard because they thought like they were a favorite or something like that. And I'm not manipulating in any way. It's just what happens somehow. Have you ever made somebody cry, baby?
Not that I remember. If there's anyone watching that I have. No. No, I don't recall.
Okay, we might take that one out.
I made you cry.
Out of happiness? When?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. That's
You
right.
teared up a little.
Because you're being romantic. Who would die more quickly in the zombie apocalypse?
I think the listener should vote. I have no idea.
I don't either. When I first read this, I thought in a previous time in my life, I would say it would be me simply because I have zero desire to fight with a zombie or otherwise. But now that we're together, like if there was a chance of me living and you being there, I think I'd fight.
That's romantic, baby.
It's romantic. It's hilarious. Like I'd be like, listen up, zombies.
We just discovered your romantic bone.
romantic
you are romantic.
sometimes.
You are romantic.
I'm just not the most romantic.
No, you are
Baby, I'm
romantic.
pretty romantic.
You are, baby. We'll cut that part out.
Do you think I'm really romantic though?
Yes,
Okay.
you are. So my initial thought was I would have an advantage as a male. You know, men are stronger and more likely to fight and all these kind of stuff. But I could imagine you, because you're so intelligent, being able to leverage that like strategically in terms of how groups of people coordinate or band together or need leadership or need to be smart about resources or need to be strategic about confrontations with other groups. There's so much you would bring to the table there that I actually could see that being an even much stronger survival attribute than just being a bro that can fend for himself, you know?
You are far from
Yeah,
a
I
bro,
gotta-
baby.
I
I think it's both because I just wonder, like, did you ever watch Walking Dead?
Yeah, a few seasons.
When I think about what the TV shows portray as this, I don't know how much mental fortitude I'd have. Which is why I kind of brought up, like, you would have to be involved in this situation, because otherwise I'd just be like, whatever.
What's the point? Yeah.
I don't think I would have it in me to lead a team and, like, gather people together. I think I would just be like, well, good luck, guys. I don't know. That's something that I've recently started coming up against, even in my career, where I'm just like, sometimes I'm just tired. And it's just like, okay, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I never thought I'd come up against it, but there is a tiredness that comes about. And I can only imagine in a scenario where people are literally fighting for their lives.
Yeah, your only incentive is to not die and to maybe eat something eventually. I get that. And watching that show too, I always often said to myself, like, I just punch out in the first day. It's like, what's the point of all this? So I actually can totally relate to that. Yeah.
We would just both veer off quietly together and find our own little pocket where the zombies can't smell us.
That's right.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Who would be more likely to become president of the United States of America? You think?
Yeah. That's like zombie apocalypse to me. Like, I have no interest whatsoever.
It was interesting thinking about this one because, yes, it's a bit similar to the zombie apocalypse. I don't know how they do it. I don't know who would want to actually become president. But when there's that slight little bit of you that's like, I could actually change this. I could improve this, especially with the skill set in my day job of international trade and things like that. I do have a different understanding or take than the general public on that side of things. But then there's so many social issues that I can't even begin to comprehend that I think I would disappoint many, and it could get very discouraging, especially just with all the press and the negativity, no matter which side you're on and all that. You're just like constantly dealing with people putting you down and making fun of you and making memes out of you. But as far as like the job description, like what the president is actually supposed to be doing, I'd be somewhat interested in that. Just dealing with all the other stuff.
Yep. So I stand by my reply.
Okay. Who would be more likely to break a world record?
Yeah, I think that goes back to the narrow, deep focus and deep desire to master things and putting the work in. So yeah, I used to love reading Guinness Book of World Records as a kid.
Me too.
So check them out at the library.
I wonder if you have ever broken a world record and you just don't know yet.
Maybe.
I bet you have. Okay. Who would be better in the Olympics?
Just the sheer fact that I have more experience with sports.
Agreed. I also think this is a mental
Although
thing.
if skee ball was an Olympic sport.
Yes, I think that's a good point. I think to get into the Olympics, first of all, that's part of this. Again, I would just feel like, I think people that have that in them, it's like you really have to want it. And I would rather cuddle with a puppy.
It's funny. I've often reflected on that, and some of my close friends could attest to this. Some of the most incredible musicians, when I look at just their technique and what they're able to do and command on their instrument, they're not even necessarily the musicians I love the most in terms of how their music touches me, but just ones that have achieved this technical proficiency that's unbelievable. I just look at it and go, how do they have time to enjoy or experience any other facets of life, And it's not a judgment. It's literally a curiosity of like, okay, if I were ever to aspire to be that good, I'd have to live and breathe every waking hour of every day for decades. Would I be willing to make that sacrifice to achieve that level of technical prowess on an instrument? The answer for me would be no. That wouldn't be that important to me personally. So I get what you're saying in terms of the level of trade-offs you'd have to make to get into the Olympics, let alone, compete.
Yes, and then I think once you're in the Olympics, there's just a set of mental mindset you need to overcome pressure to make sure you're keeping your confidence up. There's just so much to it that obviously Olympians are amazing. But yeah, not for me. Maybe if I had started out as a kid with something specific, I always enjoyed watching ice skaters. And I think that or gymnasts, things like that. I think that if I had sort of a similar, you mentioned sports, you had been in sports. I didn't have that, right? So if I had been raised into that and was showing proficiency that was above and beyond as a kid and then developed it further, maybe I just wouldn't understand anything else, because I think similar to you, I can get like deep focus into something. But I think now that I've lived life and experienced different things, I would rather have like a mix.
Yeah, same.
Okay, there are two more. Who is more likely to cut off all their hair? Neither of us. We're both very attached.
Yeah, I have no plans of cutting my hair.
I thought this was an interesting one based on our research that we're doing that involved Samson in the Bible.
Yes.
And his hair got cut and he lost his strength. And then we saw like 3 different
references
references
to that
to
randomly.
it. I by mistake cut off too much of Jonathan's hair once.
It grew back.
Last one.
Mm.
This is very serious.
Okay, serious face.
Who would be more likely to fake their death and start a new life after becoming famous?
I would say both of us. That's very appealing to me. And in a sense, it might be for you too.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's why I kind of liked this one, because I was like, oh, maybe this podcast will make us famous and then we can go live with Elvis.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to make little Christmas tree ornaments so your mom can put us up with Elvis. What do you think?
I think I want to keep going, but
Oh.
this was really fun.
There are a few more that I by mistake passed by.
Bonus round?
Bonus round. Who takes longer to get ready in the morning?
In the morning, that would be me.
Yes.
Because I shower in the morning, you shower at night.
This one's hilarious because Jonathan usually goes into an office and I don't.
Right.
So if I was still going into an office, it would probably be me. But I have the good fortune of it's just come as you are.
Same time, more time.
And
to
I
do
was
other stuff.
never like that when going into the office. But I would also say when we're doing something, like when we're going on a date or something like that, we probably are about equal parts getting ready. So next one is, who is more social?
You are.
I'm more social.
Yeah.
But you get the opportunity to be more social right now. And I'm kind of missing my social time. Okay. Who's more dramatic?
Dramatic.
I think I'm more dramatic. I wouldn't have said this like 3 years ago.
I think your response to things is more pronounced than mine. But I think I'm very calm and stoic even. So it doesn't take much to have a more pronounced response than I do.
I think in more recent times, though, I can also be more, and I don't like this about myself. I should preface this with that. I tend to like need to let things out in order for it to simmer down. And I used to never be like that. Like I used to be able to like let it filter through my own mind before anything ever came out. And it was just like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. I'm looking at this the wrong way. But now I'm just like, blah.
What do you like?
Blah.
Bah. I'm going to try it.
Blah.
I'm not going to lie. I want to do it again, but I'll spare the listeners.
Okay, next one. Who is more likely to hide their emotions?
I'll take that one. But I don't know. Because I wouldn't say I'm hiding my emotions.
I don't think either of us hide them.
Yeah, I think it's just like how outwardly are they being communicated or expressed.
Exactly. Similar to that last question where it's like, I feel like I've been not filtering. I feel like I filter my emotions less. I just kind of like let it out, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing, by the way, listeners. However, I do think that you filter. Again, it's not hiding. It's a filter. And similar to like the way the music is where it's like up and down.
Yeah.
Yours is more closer to the center.
Yes.
There's less extravagant.
Yeah, my extremes are...
Right. And I wouldn't say my extremes are bad.
No.
I just tend to filter less for whatever reason in this period of my life, which I haven't experienced in a very long time.
Interesting.
Ready? Okay. Who is more dedicated to learning something new? And I would say you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I was going to say you.
I think that when you want to learn something new, you are very dedicated to it and you learn it inside and out so that you can choose the best possible way to do it. I tend to be more, and this isn't something I particularly like about myself, and it's weird to say this. Like, it's like a new realization. I tend to get more frustrated more quickly. So the dedication part of this question is like, I would just rather somebody else tell me. Whereas you will figure out the intricacies and the technical parts of things so that you can do it in the way that you want to do it. I'm like, just tell me what to do and I'll try to do it. Or better yet, can I pay somebody to do this? Okay. Who is more likely to die from doing something stupid? I just don't think we fit in this category.
I don't think so either.
I don't think either of us do stupid things.
No.
I have been in life-threatening situations, but not because of something stupid. Maybe once something stupid. But most of it was riding horses. Like, I've gotten many concussions and things like that, but that's not stupid. It's not like I was like being careless.
Right.
Okay. Who is more likely to want to move around the world?
I would say you. While I've traveled and gotten to see many different places, you've definitely seen more places. So I think.
I wonder if that's true.
I wonder.
I've seen a lot of places, but not in a long time. You know, the trips that I can think of that maybe brought me farther would be in the beginning of my career, which has come full circle in my current career. I was able to go to Hong Kong, and that was amazing. It was a great experience. I would move to Hong Kong. I think I told you that the other day. I was like, if for whatever reason we need to move to Asia, I'd be okay with it. And that just popped into my head.
Right.
However, that's not thinking about the practical side of it. But what advice did you get through someone today? Remember, you told me that somebody was talking to somebody else and got advice from them that not to be pragmatic?
Oh, yeah. Yes. What was the quote?
If you want to live your happiest life, don't be pragmatic.
That was the quote. Yeah.
I listen, baby.
Yeah, you do.
Is that romantic?
Yes, it is.
So, I guess maybe we should just move to Hong Kong. Although I don't think we can move to Hong Kong right now. Scratch that. Who is more likely to cry because of a movie? I think me. I love it. There was a period of my life where I just didn't feel like I was in touch with my emotions. Maybe that's what unlocked everything. I didn't feel like I was in touch with my emotions, so I started watching things to make me cry. To like feel something.
It's funny because we sort of were on parallel trains here. Because I had never really cried watching a movie or something like that. And during COVID, I sort of similarly was like watching stuff to feel more. And I was crying. It was weird. It was good.
It's good. I think it's good.
Yeah, it was definitely a good thing. Because to your point, I think it helps you just get more in tune with yourself.
It is nice to just sort of like let go and feel it. Also, I've heard recently that you cry more on airplanes. One time I woke the person up next to me laughing watching Deadpool, which is very strange. And then another time I was just bawling my eyes out watching this time travel movie. I can't remember what it's called now, but apparently you just get more emotional on the airplane for whatever reason.
I usually sleep on the airplane, so.
Okay, let's see. Oh, we didn't do this one. Who is more likely to become an author? We should say first.
First.
I think both of us are equally likely to become authors in different genres.
Ways, yeah, for sure. Who'll get there first? My gut's telling me you.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I better get to it. I think we actually did them all this time.
Okay.
Any ones that you particularly liked better than the others?
Didn't necessarily have a favorite question, but I had a favorite response.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's your favorite response,
My
baby?
favorite response, baby, was something in the zombie apocalypse thing that ended up being very romantic.
When I said that, I would only want to live if we were together.
I love that romantic side came out in the context of an apocalypse. That was a beautiful juxtaposition.
I mean, I think of the extremes to be appreciative of the non-extremes. Be thankful for everything that we have. Well, baby.
Well, baby,
Was this fun?
this was fun.
We had a great podcast tonight. To the zombie apocalypse.
To the zombie apocalypse.
It'd be cool because we were writing the movie. It would be my ring that saves us. And you would soothe the zombies to sleep with the ocean sounds.
Yes. I don't think there's a better note we can end it on than that. On that note.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Thanks for joining me today, Jonathan. Thank you all for listening and watching.
See you in the next one.